When we think of European football giants, we think of Western Europe, of Real Madrid, AC Milan, Liverpool, Bayern Munich. But in 1986, a team from behind the Iron Curtain shocked the continent. In a moment as unlikely as it was iconic, Steaua Bucharest defeated Barcelona in the European Cup final, winning a penalty shootout without conceding a single penalty. This is the story of how a team born from the Romanian army came to dominate both at home and in Europe. How a team would rise from nowhere to become European champions and record the longest unbeaten run in European history. It is also the story of how politics, power and propaganda would shape Steaua's triumph and lead to its eventual decline. Steaua Bucharest was founded in 1947 in the chaotic aftermath of the Second World War. Romania had fallen under an authoritarian communist regime, and football, like much of public life, was being restructured under the watchful eye of the new government. From its inception, Steaua was deeply enmeshed within this autocratic system. Originally called Arsa Bucuresti, the team was founded by the Communist Army, and the football team was only one wing of a club that also had sections devoted to boxing, volleyball, tennis and other sports. Its name and identity would change several times in its early years until finally, in 1961, it settled on Steaua, meaning the star, a common symbol in communist countries. During the 1950s and early 60s, Steaua became a force in Romanian football, with the Romanian national team even fielding a line-up comprised entirely of their players in 1956. Their main rival was Dinamo Bucharest, the club backed by the Ministry of Internal Affairs, Romania's secret police. Their rivalry became a metaphor for a divided Romanian state: army versus security, soldier versus spy. Steaua won domestic titles but had limited success abroad. International exposure was rare. European campaigns were cautious, bureaucratically managed, and often ended early. By the mid-1960s, Nicolae Ceaușescu had come to power and set about launching one of the 20th century's most infamous personality cults. Romania remained politically isolated, and so did its football. By the early 1980s, even Steaua's domestic dominance was a thing of the past. After a title in the early 60s, Steaua won just 3 league titles in the following 20 years. They were a team capable of competing in the cup, but not the league. For Romania's army team, this was unacceptable. In 1983, Valentin Ceaușescu, son of the Romanian dictator, began taking an active interest in Steaua. Valentin, a trained physicist with a passion for sports, understood how football could be a soft power tool. Under the invisible hand of the dictator's son, Steaua began to rebuild. They brought in coach Emeric Ionu, with former player Angel Iordanescu returning as assistant, both tactically sharp and forward-thinking. They also developed a new generation of players: Miodrag Beledici, Victor Pițurcă, Laszlo Bologna and Helmut Duckadam helped spearhead the team. Steaua began playing with a modern, possession-orientated style domestically, rare for Eastern European football at the time. In 1985, Steaua won their first league title in 6 years, a return to form that would go mostly unnoticed in Western Europe. But what was to follow could not be ignored. Winning the Romanian title allowed Steaua to enter the European Cup the following season. This was the era when only league champions would qualify and the tournament was a straight knockout. As the 1985-86 European Cup campaign began, little was expected of Steaua. Romania was a closed society, its clubs rarely advanced far, and Steaua had never made it past the first round. In the first round, they faced Vejle Bocholt of Denmark. It was a routine tie, with Steaua easing to a 5-2 win on aggregate, seeing them advance past the first round for the first time in their history. The second round brought a tougher test, Budapest Honved, champions of Hungary. It was a clash between two military clubs. The first leg in Budapest saw Honved win 1-0. Steaua approached the second leg needing to overcome their deficit. In Bucharest, a tight affair was expected, but Steaua dominated, a first-minute goal from Ceaușescu setting them on course for a 4-1 victory. This win sent a message: they were communism's premier team. In the quarter-finals they faced Ceaușescu, a little-known Finnish side. This time, Steaua were favourites. The first leg, in Bucharest, did not go to plan. A goalless draw meant Steaua went to Helsinki needing a result. Late into the second leg, their talisman Ceaușescu delivered, giving them a 1-0 win on aggregate, but their real challenge was still to come. The semi-final pitted them against Belgian giants Anderlecht, a club with European pedigree and star talent. A theme of Steaua's European campaign was tight games away from home, prioritising defensive rigour over the more free-flowing football they were playing domestically. In the first leg in Brussels, Steaua lost 1-0. The return leg, in a packed Stadion Orgenchea, was a different story. Steaua were relentless. With goals from Ceaușescu and Balint and a dominant midfield display, they won 3-0. Steaua Bucharest, for the first time in their history, had reached the European Cup final. For a club under an authoritarian regime, this was not just a team reaching a final. They were now Romania's ambassadors on one of football's grandest stages. May 7th, 1986. The Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan Stadium, Seville. Steaua's opponents, FC Barcelona, a side with glamour and a history of superstars like Diego Maradona and Johan Cruyff. Barcelona came to the match as hot favourites. They had beaten Porto and defending champions Juventus en route. In the semi-final, they dramatically overturned a 3-0 first-leg deficit against Göteborg thanks to a hat-trick from striker Hagi, winning a shootout to progress. The Catalans could have been forgiven for feeling destiny was on their side. To the outside world, Steaua were the mystery. Champions from a country Europe barely understood. It was a clash of worlds, footballing, political and cultural. With Romanian secret police scared that any travelling fans might defect if they were allowed to attend, the match was played with only 1,000 Steaua fans present. The rest of the 70,000 attending was overwhelmingly in the support of Barcelona. The match itself was a tense tactical affair. Barcelona controlled possession, but Steaua's defensive structure, anchored by Beledici and Bubescu, refused to break. The midfield fought for every inch, the forwards ran endlessly. It was less about beauty, more about survival. Chance after chance was missed by Barcelona, with players like Bernd Schuster and Steve Archibald failing to make the difference. Semi-final hero Hagi was controversially left on the bench by manager Terry Venables. Hagi did come on later though, as the game approached penalties, and after 120 goalless minutes, that was how the European Cup was to be decided. In goal for Steaua stood Helmut Duckadam, a tall, soft-spoken man known by few outside Romania. That was about to change. What followed was perhaps the strangest penalty shootout ever seen. Steaua took first. Mihail Maieru. A shaky run-up, a tame strike, say. The Catalans behind the goal went wild. They had the chance to go immediately in front through captain José Ramon. Steaua were reprieved. Their midfield general, Bologna, was up next. Bologna was composed, a man trusted in the big moments. But his too was saved. His frustrated follow-up kick a sign that he knew the underdogs may have already wasted one chance too many. Pedraza's second chance to give Barca the lead. 4 kicks and none had gone in. 22-year-old Marius Lacatouche was next. He had it all upon his shoulders. His too was another nervous penalty. It just snuck it over the line. Could Barca draw level? Up stepped semi-final hero Pichi. He'd seen Duckadam dive the same way twice. Surely he wouldn't dive that way a third time. Steaua were now in the lead. Next up was Gabi Balint. He confidently sent the keeper the wrong way to give Steaua a 2-0 lead. Match point. Another Barca miss or Steaua goal and the trophy would have its first Eastern European champion. Steaua Bucharest had become the first Eastern European team to win the European Cup. For the regime back home, it was a propaganda gift. State TV replayed the match for days. For the players, it was the triumph of their lives. They had travelled across a continent, under pressure, surveillance and scrutiny, and returned with the greatest prize in club football. Duckadam had etched his name into football folklore, but he would never play another European game. He developed a mysterious illness soon after. Rumours about the illness and what caused it still swirl. It was a reminder that even in the moment of maximum triumph, the dark hand of the regime was always lurking. But that night, under the floodlights of Seville, a team from behind the Iron Curtain stepped into the light and rewrote the rules of what was possible. Steaua defended their league title, and after their European triumph, they had a chance to claim a historic treble, but they lost 1-0 to Dinamo in the Romanian Cup final. Later that year, they took on River Plate in the Intercontinental Cup, but they also lost 1-0. They were defensively solid, but had scored 0 goals across 3 finals and were clearly missing some attacking flair. So they added one more piece, a young talent named Hagi. Originally taken on a 1-game loan from Sportul Studențesc for the European Super Cup in early 1987, Hagi scored the only goal against Dynamo Kiev, giving Steaua another continental title. Impressed with Hagi's performance, the military team simply refused to release him back to Studențesc, and his loan became permanent. Hagi, with his dribbling, vision and audacity, would soon become the face of Romanian football. For Steaua, it was yet another symbol of ambition. Steaua's sudden rise in the mid-80s seemingly came out of nowhere, but it was no flash in the pan. They arguably got even better after Seville. Ine resigned as manager shortly after their European Cup triumph to take control of the Romanian national team, leading them to the best period in their history. He was replaced at Steaua by assistant coach Angel Iordnescu, who ramped up their domestic dominance. Between 1985 and 1989, Steaua won 5 consecutive league titles, 3 consecutive Romanian Cups, and went unbeaten domestically for a record 119 matches, a period spanning over 3 years from 1986 to 1989. Their squad was deep and balanced. Pițurcă up front, Bologna pulling strings in midfield, Bella Dedici marshalling the defence, and Hagi the jewel in the crown. They continued to perform well in Europe, reaching the European Cup semi-final in 1988, losing to Benfica. The following year, they reached the European Cup final again, this time against Arrigo Sacchi's AC Milan. On this occasion though, it was a step too far. Sacchi's Milan outclassed them, easing to a 4-0 victory. This proved to be Steaua's last hurrah on the international scene. Football doesn't exist in a vacuum. In December 1989, as the entire Eastern Bloc was fraying, Romania exploded. Years of oppression, poverty and surveillance boiled over. On the 22nd of December, Nicolae Ceaușescu and his wife fled the capital after an uprising. They were captured and on Christmas Day executed by firing squad. The regime that had both protected and manipulated Steaua was gone. So too was Valentin and his privileges. The army distanced itself, the club lost its political armour. Suddenly, Steaua was just another football team in a new and chaotic world. For Steaua, and for Romania as a whole, the 1990s were a time of transition. Romania was opened up to the Western world. Hagi went to Real Madrid. Others, like Balint, Pițurcă and Lakatush, also went abroad. At home, Steaua remained dominant, winning 6 league titles in a row in the 90s. But in Europe, their power waned. They reached a Cup Winners' Cup quarter-final in 1993 and were a last-minute goal away from a UEFA Cup final in 2006. But these were just faint echoes of what had once been. Corruption, mismanagement and infighting plagued the club. A legal dispute even stripped them of their historic name and logo in the 2010s, as 2 rival clubs now both claim to be the real Steaua Bucharest. Neither of these clubs can hold a candle to the glory that the team of the 1980s had. The stadium has changed, the politics have changed, Romania has changed. But the memory of Seville, of Duckadam's heroics, of Hagi's brilliance and Romanian dominance lingers on. Because for one fleeting moment, Steaua was more than just a football club. It was a mirror of its nation, proud, complicated, defiant. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe so that I can carry on making these videos. Who would you like me to cover next? Leave your suggestions in the comments down below. Goodbye for now and see you next time on Golden Goal.